I've got a steel ABA oil pan here, which I'm going to modify for my conversion. I've made this block out, or this plate. So what I want to do is cut out the front of the oil pan and weld this plate in so it'll clear the subframe. But to do this, I have to measure and cut precisely. So I have created a template. The template here, it's actually 2 sheets of paper with 2 halves of the template design. And so I'm going to cut these out and fit it and mark it. So the first step is, when you print it out, is to verify that the scale is correct. It's important that you print it with no scaling, or at 100% scale that it was designed, so that everything fits. So using a ruler, I can verify that the 1 inch line is exactly 1 inch, or if you're working in millimeters, you can verify that the 20 millimeter line is exactly 20 millimeters. So that is correct. So I'm ready to start cutting. I'm going to cut around all the black lines on the outline, and I'm also going to cut the little black lines in the holes so I can push some bolts through to line it up with the oil pan. So I'm going to start by using an X-Acto knife and cutting the little star shapes on the bolt holes before I cut the perimeter. Now I'm going to cut these 2 little slits in the front right up to the dotted line. And then I'm going to fold in the 3 tabs so that they're folded towards me, the direction of the arrow. But it might actually be easier to face it away from me and fold it down this way so it's flush with the edge. Alright, now that both sides of my template are cut out, I'm going to tape them together by completing the Volkswagen logo here. So I'm going to just put it together so the Volkswagen logo lines up. Lines it perfectly. Put a piece of tape on it. Turn it over. And put a piece of tape on the other side. And now, at the front of the template, the slits that I've cut, those slits are going to interlock. And you can push them together until the dotted line lines up. You can actually kind of see through it a little bit. I might not have cut one enough. Yeah, I gotta cut one of these slits a little deeper. There we go. My dotted line is lining up. So now I'm going to tape this in position as well. And again, I'm going to tape this on both sides. Alright, my template is now complete. I can now set it over the end of the oil pan, like that. And I should be able to push bolts through all of the holes to make sure it lines up. I'll start with the center one here. Alright, now I am ready to mark the line where this touches, and that will be my cut line. It might also be helpful to use a little bit of tape to hold the template in place. Just get it to lay flat. Put a little tape on the sides and on the top. Obviously, we don't want the tape on this inside edge because that's where we're going to mark. Being black, I'm going to write on it with the white paint pen, and I'm just going to trace along the edge. And now that it's all marked, I can take the template off. And there's my cut line. Alright, now that my cutout is made, it's a template. We'll see how close it is. I don't expect it to be perfect. So it's pretty close, but I can see I have to remove a little bit of material at the top of this angle, and then I think it will sit in nicely. So let's make some adjustments. Alright, I think that's a really good fit for my welding. A little bit of a gap there, but I'll be able to fill that in, I think. I'm just going to use a little sanding disc on a die grinder and just clean up the edges. Now, because I have removed some of the capacity of the oil pan with my cutout for the subframe, I want to add some capacity back to the pan. So what I've done is I've created a structure, a little box here, and I can weld this box onto the side of the oil pan about like this, and I'll cut out a big opening here, and that will extend the volume of the oil pan. So I've calculated, I removed about 1 liter of capacity with this, and this is going to add about 1.5 liters of capacity back. So that should give it in the neighborhood of 5.5 to 6 liters capacity of oil, which I think should be more than adequate. So this little extension box that I've made, I've put in a little wall here with some trap doors. So the logic being, once this is filled with oil, right, the oil level will be partway up this with your oil pickup down here in the bottom of the pan. When it's adding a lot of volume over to the side here. So when I turn to the left, the oil is going to slosh this direction into the pan and be right by the pickup. But when I turn to the right, I don't want all the oil to slosh away from the pickup into the little box here. So these little trap doors make it so that there's really not much opening for the oil to slosh away and go back into the backside here. But when you turn to the other direction, the oil that is trapped in here can flow out easily, can flow out to the pickup, but it won't rush back into the box away from the pickup. So anyway, so I've made this with the trap doors, and I've made this so that it's a pretty decent fit onto the oil pan, so you can actually use the box as a template. You can see it kind of sits in one spot where it likes to line up. So I'm now going to hold this in position, and with a marker or a paint pen, I'm going to mark the outline of where it goes, and then you could either with like a step drill or drill a whole bunch of holes, or I'm going to use the die grinder and cut out a big opening. Now, unlike this plate, where when I marked from the template I wanted to cut exactly on the lines, here I want to have a little bit of material left over to weld to, so I'm probably going to want to leave about 1/4 inch or so of material here. So I'll probably cut about like here on this dotted line. People might ask if they should use MIG or TIG to put these pieces on the oil pan, and it really doesn't matter. It's really just whatever you're comfortable with. There are a few gaps, specifically in this corner. There's a little bit of a gap there that I just couldn't do anything with, so that has to be filled in. MIG is a little easier for gap filling, but TIG is also a viable solution. TIG welding takes a little longer, but the results usually look a little better. But as long as you make it watertight, doesn't matter. I'm going to check for leaks. I like checking welds for leaks or anything for leaks. Valve seats, things like that. With a brake clean or like a denatured alcohol or one of those petroleum products, because it's so thin and has such low surface tension, it will dribble through like a little pinhole leak. If you use just plain water, you usually have to pressurize it or wait a long time to get past the, again, it's surface tension, because if there's a little pinhole, the surface tension will prevent it from leaking through. So I'm going to spray all of the welds that I've done from the inside and make sure there's enough liquid in there that I can kind of roll around, you know, to all the different weld joints. And what this allows me to do is then from the underside, I can look for any telltale signs of moisture that have seeped through. And as long as there's no telltale signs of moisture, then my welds are complete. And I won't have an oil leak when I put it all together.